In this video, I'm going to discuss my leg day routine and actually what it takes to reach your goals. Here's an overview of what we'll learn. How to create goals and the importance of actually creating the goals. Taking action on achieving those goals. Staying consistent with that work towards those goals. So like once you take the action, now you have to work towards it. The success-oriented mindset that you will develop along the way. And then after that, we'll actually get into like my actual weekly split, the reason behind the weekly split, my leg day routine, the reason behind the exercises on my leg day, and the reason behind the order of those exercises on my leg day, the proper nutrition that you need in order to actually see muscle development in the gym, and then we'll recap at the end. So yeah, let's get started. So we're going to start with creating goals and the actual importance of doing that. If you have a goal in mind, then you have that drive. Then you actually have that destination of where you want to go. And it's sort of like a ship without an end destination. So if a ship is just out at sea with no end destination, it's just going to be sailing around in the ocean for absolutely no reason. That's sort of how people are without their goals as well. So I would suggest just starting out with some goals in mind. That's very important for what we're going to continue to discuss in this video. And also with a goal in mind, sort of like we've already mentioned, is you'll be more likely to keep working and not give up along the way. And also, once you reach your goal, you'll have a sense of accomplishment. If, for example, I want to be a bodybuilder and I wake up every day and I go to the gym and I eat my protein and I drink my water and I make sure that I'm doing everything I can to actually ensure that I am going to reach this goal one day. And then once I'm actually kind of there to that point where I want to be, then it'll be like a real sense of accomplishment. And that'll go for any goal that you have in mind. If you just keep working on it, just stay consistent with that goal, you will get there. And that kind of ties into what we're about to talk about. And that is taking action to achieve your goals. Honestly, one of the most important parts about any success journey is taking action to achieve goals. So once you actually have that goal in mind, it's finally time to actually take action. If you just have a goal and you never get started, who really cares? So that's kind of the idea behind actually taking action. Like I said, it's the most crucial step for any success journey because that's actually what gets you started. That's what gets you started on your success journey. And without taking action, well, you can't do anything without taking the action, right? So you'll never get anywhere. So if you never take the action, you'll never get anywhere and you'll always be stuck in the same place for the rest of your life. Let's say you have this goal, right? And you aren't really too sure about, exactly the steps and the measures you need to actually take in order to get to that goal. It's still better to start on your journey without actually knowing your plan. It's always been a big deal in success journeys to, really get started on planning your goal before getting started. And in a sense, that's valid. But honestly, I agree more with getting that goal and immediately getting started and then maybe planning a little bit on the way at the beginning. So, as soon as you get that goal, take action on something, right? Whatever that is. And then from there, you'll be able to formulate a plan based on how your actions are going and kind of what you find along the way. That's my best advice for getting started because honestly, getting started and taking action and getting experience with something is the best way to learn. So I would say even though you may not have a solid foundation for a plan, I would still suggest getting started right after you get that goal in mind. And so continuing on, we have staying consistent with that work towards your goal. So far, we've created a goal, we've taken action on that goal, and now, arguably just as important as the original goal and the taking action, we have to stay consistent with the work that we're doing to get to that goal. So yeah, consistency is going to be a huge thing on this video as well as on this channel, and that's because it's going to be a big thing in any successful person's life. If you're not consistent, the goal that you just made and the action that you took means nothing. So these three things are specifically tied together in creating goals, taking action, and then staying consistent. So yeah, like I said, after taking action, you have to actually work towards the goal consistently now. I mean, it sounds silly to state that, but it needs to be said because so many people have a goal in mind, then they get started, then they give up because it gets too difficult. Well, the hardest part is taking the action, but arguably just as difficult is staying consistent with your work towards that goal. This means making time for your goals. Every day, you have to make time for your goals. That's something a lot of people struggle with, is actually making time to do the work towards their goal. Because eventually the day will come where you're given the opportunity to make the excuse that you don't have enough time that day. Something came up and you don't have enough time. You've got to go out of your way to make time for your goals. If you truly want to make it in life and make it on whatever journey you're on, you have to prioritize your goals before anything or anyone else. It can be very harsh at times, but that's part of making time for your goals, is prioritizing your goals and prioritizing your work and really just committing full force into whatever it is you want to do. And just remember, on most days, you will not want to work. That's a key thing here. And on this channel, I'm here to tell you things that you need to hear, not things you want to hear. I'm not going to be doing all this sugarcoating bull, right? Because it isn't worth it, and it's not helpful to people watching. Whatever success journey you're on, you will have to fight. It will be difficult. There will be a lot of struggles. That's something a lot of people don't talk about, but it has to be said. When you don't want to work on those days, that's when it counts the most to still get the work done anyway. That's something very few people have the ability to do, is to work when they don't really want to. Now we're going to get into discussing the success-oriented mindset that you will develop along the way during your journey to success. What we've discussed so far is you create a goal, you take action, and then you consistently work towards that goal. And then something very special happens after this. After you're consistent for so long, you'll end up wanting to work more and more and harder every day. You'll realize that on days that you work, you feel a lot better than on days that you relax. And obviously, take that with a grain of salt because, every so often a vacation is very important. At the end of the day, on days you worked, you feel a lot better lying down in bed to go to sleep that night, knowing you deserve that rest. However, on days you relaxed, you go to sleep that night, knowing you should have worked, but you didn't. You'll start to become more disciplined, and you'll realize there's this disciplined and this success-oriented mindset starting to form. And what I think is when you see yourself wanting to work harder and harder and push yourself even further beyond your limits, that's really that success-oriented mindset starting to form in your mind. And it's only really a cycle from there. Like we said, once you create a goal, once you take action on that goal and consistently work towards that goal, then you start to build that success-oriented mindset. But it's really a cycle after that, because once you have that success-oriented mindset, then you actually want to do more work harder and harder every day, and that'll lead to you being more and more consistent, which is actually what got us to this success-oriented mindset in the first place. But then the success-oriented mindset leads to more consistency. So it's a cycle from there, and that's how you actually grow and grow and grow and actually get towards your goal of being successful. I really do believe that is how that works, and I've definitely seen that take action when I've pursued bodybuilding. At first, it's difficult, you're not seeing that much results, and then you start seeing some results, and you're like, okay, now I'm starting to want to work harder and harder and work more and more every day in the gym so that I can keep seeing these results. You become more disciplined to the gym after seeing that, and then you start to develop a success-oriented mindset for the gym. That's just an example of what I've experienced, but that's exactly this playing action in real life. Obviously, at the beginning, it's the hardest part because you don't see those beginning results than you do later on once you stay consistent and work harder and harder at it every single day. So yeah, just stick with it and you'll get there. I do believe so. So now moving on, we're actually going to get into the actual fitness stuff that I promised at the beginning. First, we're going to discuss my weekly split. So my weekly split basically consists of day one doing chest, and I only do chest on day one. So I don't do like a push workout or anything like that. It's just chest. Then on day two, I'll do back. Same thing. I only do back. I don't do like any kind of pull workout. I just hit my back. On day three, I'll do shoulders and arms. And then day four, legs. Day five is an optional rest. So that kind of depends. So on day five, I'll either take a rest day, or day five will be the start of a repeat of this split, which I only really ever take 2 rest days per month. So I actually recently edited the split. I used to do the push-pull legs split, but I started to realize that kind of got boring, and now I think this is a good time to get into why I actually do this split and the reasoning behind that. First of all, I think this split is a lot more fun than the push-pull leg split. The reasoning behind the split is that it allows optimal time in between like muscle group training sessions. So what do I mean by that? And basically what I mean by that is if I hit chest on day one, then my chest is sore obviously, but so is my shoulders and my triceps, because to do chest movements, your shoulders and triceps play a major part in that. So on day one I do chest, and then I give my shoulders and arms 48 hours or 2 days of recovery time to hit them on day three, just like we have in my weekly split right here. So then that gives that optimal 48 hours of recovery time, which is recommended for muscle growth, at least in bodybuilding. And the same exact thing goes for back and legs. They are also broken up between 2 days. So I do deadlifting on back day and I do squats on leg day. And obviously both of those movements use a lot of the same muscles to perform. It allows optimal time in between specific muscle group training sessions. And kind of like I said at the beginning, I think this split's really fun. So it keeps the weeks interesting with varying exercises and workouts. This split allows me to hit every muscle twice every 8 days. So that's obviously assuming I don't take that rest day after the 4th day. So, and like I said, I only do take about 2 rest days every month. So that would mean that most of the time I am hitting my muscles twice every 8 days. I've seen a lot of growth doing this split too. That's probably the most important bullet point on this slide. And honestly, if I didn't see that growth while doing this split, I wouldn't be doing the split. So yeah, it definitely is the most important bullet point on this list. Just to go over everything again, it allows optimal time in between some of the training sessions for my muscle groups. It keeps the weeks interesting with varying exercises and workouts. So, things aren't getting boring. It's staying interesting. I enjoy the split a lot and I think it's fun. That's basically what that bullet point says. It allows me to hit every muscle group twice every 8 days, assuming no rest day. And I see a hell of a lot of growth doing this split. So yeah, moving on. So now we're actually going to get into my leg day routine. So this leg day routine is pretty short actually. I feel like I see a lot of growth and my legs are always sore for like 2 days after. So I actually do feel like this leg day routine is a pretty solid one. So I actually start with squats and I do 4 sets of those. Then I'll move on to RDLs and I do those with a barbell. And then leg extensions, obviously just with a machine. And then calf raises. So I'll usually do calf raises seated. I just prefer them seated. Not really sure why. They work well when I'm seated, so that's how I do them. Now let's discuss exactly why I chose these exercises for my leg day. Squats I start out with. I do squats because I think they're the best lower body exercise there is, which I think most bodybuilders and even powerlifters can agree. And just general weightlifters I think can agree with this, is because they're the best lower body exercise because honestly they destroy the entire legs. So this is going to be your quads, hamstrings, and glutes being absolutely destroyed on squats. Also because progressive overload is very, very possible. And what do I mean by that? And basically what I mean by that is it's very easy to add and remove weight. So let's say 1 week I do 2 plates for 12 reps. It would be very easy for me to maybe lower the weight and do 185 for 20 reps or something like that. And that may seem obvious, but there are some movements that kind of make this a challenge. Body weight movements are difficult to do progressive overload on, just because normally on a body weight movement, you just do a bunch of reps and you don't add any extra weight to it, because that's why it's called a body weight movement. So every week, if I were to do that same body weight movement, I would have to continue to add more and more reps to actually progressively overload, which can get extremely inefficient, because I could probably go sit down and do like 50 push-ups in one sitting, and then I'd start to feel a bit of a burn on my chest. Every time you go to do push-ups, you have to get to that many reps in order to actually see growth. And so that's why progressive overload is such a big deal. So then after that, I'll move on to RDLs, and these I do with a barbell, and I like these because these are perfect for hamstring growth. Now, obviously, you can also do hamstring curls, which sometimes I do hamstring curls just to change it up a little bit. But I actually prefer RDLs. I think they're kind of fun, but I also, more importantly, I feel it a lot in my hamstrings whenever I do RDLs. I've always felt like RDLs are the best hamstring movement, at least for me. So that's why I do them. Then after that, I'll move on to leg extensions. I do leg extensions next because I think they're the best quad isolated exercise, meaning it's just really going to be the quads that get worked. There is no movement in the gym that targets the quads like leg extensions. That's why I move on to leg extensions. There's just no other movement like them for targeting the quads. Then I'll end off with calf raises, which is obviously the best movement for the calves, even though calves are obviously fully genetic and can't be trained. Not really much to say about calf raises, just obviously the best movement for calves, and yeah, that's why I do them. Now that we've discussed my leg day routine and the reason for my exercise choices on my leg day routine, so now we're going to get into why I chose the order the specific layout of all the exercises that are on my leg day. So honestly, the main idea behind the order of the exercises is the idea of energy expenditure. So, how much energy am I using to perform each movement? So what I like to do is the movements that require the most energy, I do first. So while I have the most energy, I should be doing the movements that require the most energy, so that I can actually put the energy that I currently have to use. With that being said, I'll start off with squats. I honestly think squats are one of the movements that use the most energy. I will say, squats are extremely exhausting. So yeah, they take the most energy, so I do them first. So I usually like to start with some of the most compound movements on my workouts and then do more isolation movements towards the end of the workout. I honestly think most of that's just, again, because of the idea of energy expenditure. More compound movements are going to use more muscles, therefore they're going to take more energy to do. So I do the compound movements first. And with that being said, after doing squats, I'll move on to RDLs because they are the second most compound movement on this list, meaning they are the second most energy consuming on this list as well. That's why I move on to RDLs. And then leg extensions, again, they take less energy than squats and RDLs, but a little bit more energy than calf raises. So then I'll move on to leg extensions after the RDLs. And then I'll end with calf raises because they use the least amount of energy out of everything. That's basically the idea behind the order of the exercises. Energy expenditure is the main reason behind all of them. But I also just kind of for some odd reason, prefer to do them like this. I just prefer to do the exercises in this order. It's just kind of how I've always done it. It just seems to work. I go to the gym, I hit legs, my legs are really sore, and my legs get really big, right? So, don't fix it if it isn't broke. That's kind of a good mentality for something like the order of the exercises. If the order of your exercises are working for you, then you should keep them. As long as you're actually progressively overloading every time you go work out, then I see no problem with keeping the order of your exercises or even the exercise selections the same every time you work out. So yeah, that's my thing with that. So yeah, and that's the reason behind the order of all the exercises. So then we're going to end with discussing what proper nutrition looks like. Usually I would have discussed proper nutrition first, but I kind of wanted to get right into the actual working out part of this video immediately, because that's most likely what you clicked on the video to learn about. So what exactly does proper nutrition look like? Well, first of all, I think it'd be important for us to discuss how important it really is. So nutrition in general takes up about 75% of your gym life. 75% of your gym life is nutrition and 25% of it is actual weightlifting. Proper nutrition is actually what facilitates the actual muscle gain that you're looking to get. So yeah, you have to have proper nutrition in order to see gains in the gym. So in my opinion, I think there's 3 main criteria when you're starting out with nutrition. Obviously nutrition can get kind of complicated. If you start listening to people talk about their micronutrients and, meal timing, it can get pretty complicated very quickly. But I think when you're starting out, I think there's 3 main criteria that you need to master before moving into the more complicated areas of mastering your nutrition. And that is first, calorie consumption. So how many calories should you be eating per day? And I really think that depends mainly on your goals in the gym. So what do I mean by that? So let's discuss bulking first. So let's say you're trying to bulk up for optimal muscle development. You need to be in around about a 500 calorie surplus, which basically means you need to be eating 500 calories more than what you burn per day. And the 500 number is really just kind of in a range. So some days you could be maybe in a 300 calorie surplus, or maybe even a 700 calorie surplus, or some days maybe even a 1,000 calorie surplus. That's all kind of considered to be around the range of 500. 500 is more of just kind of a benchmark, something to kind of aim for. And it's completely okay if you aren't exactly at 500. And for cutting, it's basically the exact opposite. So you're in a 500 calorie-ish surplus for bulking, and for cutting, you need to be in a 500 calorie deficit, which means eating 500 calories less than what you burn a day. The next important thing would be protein consumption. So you need to be consuming about 1 gram of protein per 1 pound of body weight that you have. For example, if you weigh 170 pounds, you need to be consuming 170 grams of protein every day, right? So that's how that works. That's something a lot of people generally get wrong when they're entering the world of fitness and dieting. You need to get both of those things right, and along with that, 1 gallon of water a day. Don't drink any less than 1 gallon of water per day. If you get all three of these things right and you're actually training hard in the gym, you will see results. Make sure you're getting your proper nutrition down pat. Start with this and get this mastered before you move on to more of the more complicated aspects of nutrition, sort of like the micronutrients and things like that. But I would argue that these three things are the most important things. And I covered everything I promised to you. We've discussed everything here in depth, and we can go ahead and recap on all of it too. So we discussed how to create goals and the importance of that, and then the importance of actually taking action in order to achieve your goals, and how if you never take action, you won't ever get anywhere. And equally as important to taking action is staying consistent with your work towards your main goals. So, if you don't take action, you won't get anywhere. But if you don't stay consistent, you also equally won't get anywhere either. And then from that, you'll start to build a success-oriented mindset where you really want to keep working hard and harder every day. That'll lead into a cycle of then you working harder and being more and more consistent, which further builds your success-oriented mindset. And that cycle repeats until you've made it in life. So, pretty exciting stuff there. And then we discussed my weekly split, and then the reason behind my weekly split. Then we discussed my leg day routine, the reason behind the exercises on my leg day routine, then the reason behind the order of all the exercises on my leg day routine, and then we discussed the importance of proper nutrition, which actually facilitates your muscle gain in the gym. I hope you found this video valuable. If you did, make sure to leave me a like. It'll really help to show me that it helped someone, and you can subscribe as well. It's completely free, and you can change your mind at any time. And you can also leave a comment down below if you have any suggestions for these videos or anything like that. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned for the next video. Take care.